it's Teresa. Welcome back to my channel. I know I haven't filmed like a proper video where I just like sit down and do some talking about books in a little bit. And I do hope you guys enjoyed the stuff I did in the interim. I launched a new channel called Crypto Corner, and I also uploaded my Iceland travel diary. So if you haven't seen those videos yet, I will link them in the description box below. But today I'm back to talk about books, which is really exciting because I have two books that I need to vent on a little bit. So let's just jump into it, okay? Disclaimer, unpopular opinion incoming. So if you're not about that, then leave. So the books I want to talk about is the Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo, consisting of Six of Crows, of course, and Crooked Kingdom. I read them at the beginning of September, and I had heard so many great things about it. Oh my god. So many people are saying that these books are much better than the original Grisha trilogy, and they just like hyped them up so much. It was absolutely crazy. So many people have told me to read Six of Crows that I was just like, okay, I'm a cave, I'm gonna do it. And so I did it, and I actually really enjoyed Six of Crows. I thought the first book did a good job like setting everything up. It was quite interesting, like the world building is done fine and the characters are okay. The way I'm talking, you might think I gave this book like 2 stars. I didn't. I gave it 4 because I just enjoyed it a lot, but it still didn't read like anything special to me, to be perfectly honest. It kind of felt like the poor man's version of The Lies of Locke Lamora, which is one of my favorite series ever, so I felt a little bit cheated in that aspect, because it does obviously follow like this gang of like teenagers that are down on their luck and have been all their life, and so they like have become petty criminals, and they grip up in this band of thieves and spies and murderers and things like that, and they're all really young, but obviously they've had a hard life, so they don't always seem to act like teenagers. And so yeah, I did enjoy this. I thought it was fun, but just like nothing overly like, oh my god, I love it. The heists in the first book also didn't seem really quite intricate enough to me, again because of the comparisons from The Lies of Locke Lamora, where you literally just like, how can they come up, how can they ever make it out of the situation? Like, it's impossible. And then all of this stuff happens, like, oh my god, they had it planned all along, and things like that. And I think in the way it's done in The Lies of Locke Lamora, it works really well because they keep up this appearance of them being lost and them being in distress very long, and also it's not always just an appearance. Most of the time they actually are in distress, which makes the story really interesting and really engaging because you're at the edge of your seat, literally just like waiting, like how are they gonna make it out of this crazy stuff? It's impossible, and then they somehow still manage, and you're like, wow, what? Oh my god, my mind is blown. And then my issue with these books, and specifically now getting to Crooked Kingdom, was that every single time, except for literally one time I could think of, every single time something bad started to happen, or someone appeared to be betraying like a group member, or someone appeared to be like, I don't know, getting into some shit, whatever, every single time it literally went perfectly and according to plan after all. Because Kaz, who somehow is, you know, able to see the future and everything happening at all times and predict literally anything that's gonna happen, had planned it that way to begin with. And in so many cases I was just, it just didn't seem realistic at all. And I know that this is like a fantasy world, so it doesn't need to be like hyper realistic, but there does have to be some semblance of like realism to it, to the point where like the reader will be kind of, I don't know, feel like, oh yeah, that could actually happen even in this fantasy world. And the way that this kept happening as well was like they had one heist or like one little trick happening literally right after the other, so there was just so much going on that it was really hard to follow at times, because like, how did we get from this point to this one? Like, I don't even know what's happening right now. And then at the same time, because it seemed like nothing could ever go really wrong for these people, like I didn't care anymore, so I was bored even though too much was happening. Like, that's kind of difficult to manage. So at least props for that, but just left me like really with a bad taste in my mouth, to be honest. Another thing I really was not a fan of in these books is that there's 6 main protagonists, and the author seemed really inclined to like force them to be together in like pairs, right? 6 people is an even number, so that makes 3 couples. Great job. You can do basic elementary math, but it still didn't make sense. These books are obviously centered around heists, right? So most of the screen time in them is devoted to the heists, which is as it should be. There shouldn't be like moments or like more moments of them being like swooning over each other, because there already were too many. But because there wasn't enough space left for the relationships anymore, the ones that developed seemed to be like happening like this, literally. There was one, right? One between Cassidy and Nash, which I don't think is like much of a spoiler because it's so obvious from like the very beginning that there's like stuff between them. That was the only one I cared about. The other 2, I was like, this is so, what is this? Like, there's one of them that's like a hate-to-love relationship in like a minute, and the other one is kind of like, we need representation and we need to do something with these people, so let's just put them together. Like, no, please don't. This is not supposed to be a romance story. I've heard so many people say that these books are light on romance. If this is light on romance, what is heavy on romance? There's so much romance in these books. And again, something I hate in books is when it happens or like comes up in the most ridiculous of situations. They will literally have, this one couple has their first kiss while other members of their group are like discussing really important, essential life matters that are super relevant, and there's other people just like watching them, and then they have their first kiss in like a makeout session all in front of them, and I'm like, what the fuck? No. Or they'll be sneaking off into like rooms before leaving for an important mission, and I'm like, I mean, I get, you know, all the YOLO type thing, because they might die, they don't, but like they might die soon, right? So yeah, let's get it on in time. But it's so dumb and I really didn't like that at all. What I did like is that the sort of there's a bisexual character, and I'm not sure if there's one of them bisexual and the other is homosexual, or both of them are bisexual, I don't really know. But I did like that it wasn't thrown into your face like a million signs, arrows pointing at them, being like, look, this person is not heterosexual. Oh my god, I rock as an author. I wrote a character that's not heterosexual. Go me. Like, I love that that wasn't the case with this one. It was just there. No fuss, no muss. He was just not heterosexual. And that is exactly the kind of diversity I like, because the other kind just feels so disingenuous. Is that a word? So that in itself was good, I would say, but I just didn't like the relationship that ended up developing from that. Again, just because it wasn't like built well, you know, it didn't develop naturally, it just kind of was, and it seemed like a little tropey, or like trophy in a way. Another thing I don't really get is people's obsession with Cass Brecker. Why exactly do you like him so much? He's not a nice person. He's not even like a hot bad boy. He's just kind of an asshole all the time, and it seems like he values, or like he thinks that his trauma was much more traumatic than everybody else's trauma, so he deserves like a special star or something. Like, why? Everybody in this group went through shit. Everybody had a pretty tough life, and they like have to endure things that are unendurable for most people, and like, right, but you're special. You're the special snowflake, traumatized person. Another thing on his trauma, like, I understand what the background was for why he is the way he is, right? And the traumatic events are described in the books one time. We get like, I don't know, a few pages of what happened to him as a child. The like really bad part is so short and so like clinically written almost, that I knew what was happening there, but I was like, right, but he doesn't seem to care, like it doesn't seem to affect him in the moment. And maybe that was done on purpose so that it wouldn't take away from the sheer horror of the fact by kind of glossing it or like plushing it up with I don't know, dramatic writing or whatever, or like giving a big insight into what he was feeling and things like that. But to me, that kind of really took away from it and like didn't leave me feeling bad enough for him to justify all of the repercussions that he suffers with, because those are focused really heavily on, especially in the second book, like where he almost faints and like shit happens to him because he's like so taken back to the moment where he was traumatized. But again, because we didn't get enough of an insight, in my opinion, into that trauma in particular, I didn't really feel like that was justified. Like, they weren't connected well enough, in my opinion. And also, I just didn't like him as a character. I feel like the only character I really liked was Inej. She was awesome. She's like super cool. By the way, I gave this book 3 stars, but I feel like I might take it down to a 2. I gave it 3 just because I did end up enjoying it, reading it. In retrospect, I had so many issues with it, and it just like didn't live up to the standards, my standards, and it didn't live up to the hype that I had heard about it. And also, this one is way too long. Cut that shit down, please, because it just went on and on and on and on. So at the end of the day, I ended up being quite disappointed with this duology. I think it was definitely part the hype, but honestly, I don't really buy into hype anymore. So whenever a book is hyped, I'm actually kind of more wary of it than if it weren't, just because it, you know, I know that a lot of it is like blind love that's not really founded on any sort of criteria, but just like, oh my god, I love it, and, you know, it's not very constructive. I think it's mainly that I really like the setup, and I really like this sort of heist and thief story, so that kind of was really intriguing to me, but then the follow through was just really poor, I think. And I really have this issue with Leigh Bardugo somehow always, that I don't like the way she ends her stories. Like, I hated Ruin and Rising. I really like her world building, I really like her writing in terms of the actual writing. Like, I think she can like phrase things really well, and that was awesome. But I just don't like where she takes her stories. I don't like how she ends her stories, and yeah, I think I might pass on her in the future just because I've been let down too many times. And it's just not really worth it for me anymore. But yeah, that is it for my little rant/review on Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what your guys' thoughts were when you read these books, because I'm sure like 99% of you will have already read them, so let me know if you think that my issues with it were unfounded, or if you noticed them but weren't really as important to you and you still enjoyed it. Leave all those thoughts and feelings in the comments down below, and come back soon for another video. I upload every Tuesday and Friday, so you know, put it in your calendars. I will see you then. Have a lovely week. Bye!